requesting everyone, please stay all the way till midnight Aarti, and we'll have special darshan at midnight. And on Janmashtami, we have lots of festivities. There'll be Abhishek, there'll be Aarti, there'll be boat festival, there'll be drama, dance, prasadam for everyone, prasadam booth, and then there'll be Japa area. So many festivities, like the entire evening is like festivities one after the other. So please do join us on Janmashtami, and please spread the word. Invite your friends. 19th of August, Friday, 4 p.m. all the way till midnight. Okay. And also for such a big festival, we need a lot of help. So the Seva days is this next weekend. So 13th and 14th, the Saturday and the Sunday, whole day we'll have Seva in the temple. There's lot to do with respect to the grounds, decoration. So please come on Saturday. We start at 10 a.m. and we'll be serving lunch and dinner prasadam on the weekend. So Saturday 10 a.m. and also Sunday we'll have Seva the whole day. So please do join us. Next weekend is just a weekend before Janmashtami, and we'll be doing all the setup, decoration, packing, setting up all the booths. Everything will be done this coming weekend. Okay. And also on Thursday, just the day before Janmashtami, on 18th of August, from 4 p.m. all the way till late night, we'll have huge seva of cutting all the vegetables. We'll be cooking for like 3,000 people. So we'll have to cut maybe 100 or 150 pounds of potatoes, and it's like a huge seva. So we need as many hands on Thursday evening. We'll be doing all the cut-off for the prasadam feast. So the seva days are this weekend, 13th, 14th, and then 18th, the day right before Janmashtami. Also, we would like to thank Lata Mataji for sponsoring the feast today. And this is in honor of her son, Parth, who actually got married last month. So, Hari Bol. So, let's pray for Parth. He was, I think they got married on the West Coast. So, let's pray that they have a wonderful, auspicious, Krishna-conscious life ahead. Let's loudly chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Also the Sunday Children's School, it starts from next Sunday. So every Sunday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll have, at the same time when we have class here, we'll have the Sunday School. It is from age group 4 to 6 is first batch, 7 to 9 years is second batch, and 10 years and up is the third batch. So if you'd like to enroll your children, it's like 8 weeks, 8 Sundays, we'll have a beautiful course that will go on. And at the end, the students will actually give a whole presentation on what they have learned. So it starts from 14th August, that's next week. So if you'd like to sign up your children, downstairs, I'll be there, or my wife Ratna Radhika will be there. So you can sign up it here. Or the poster is here, and downstairs you can also just scan QR code and go online and sign up your children. Okay? Okay, so thank you so much. So our schedule is, we'll start off with a class by His Holiness Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and also we have our ongoing youth series. So today at after Maharaj's class at 5:45, we'll have Shweta Manjari will be doing a short 10 minutes presentation, and then at 6 p.m. we'll have our dinner prasadam for everyone. Okay, so that's our program for this evening. Thank you so much for joining. So we'll start the class. So we request everyone kindly move forward for the class. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Ava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Yasunanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasunanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachade Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Ajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jaya Ranu Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teta Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhani Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Manamai Ki Jai Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharani, Nivashesha, Shunyavadi, Paschatya, Deja Tarni. Okay, well, everyone's not chanting. I can take my mask off, so it's a little safer. So, what we're going to do today is similar to what we've done during the last 2 weeks, is that we've taken a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna asks a specific question. You remember? Last week we did chapter 13. The week before we did chapter 8. And today we're going to do chapter 12. And someone can operate the mouse. You know how to operate a mouse? That's good. So today we're going to do chapter 12 where Arjuna asks a specific question and Krishna devotes the whole chapter to answering that question. Interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is entitled Devotional Service. And there's a very important question asked by Arjuna in the beginning of the 12th chapter that has a lot to do with Srila Prabhupada's mission. What is Srila Prabhupada's mission? Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi, Paschatya, Deshatarni. Namaste, Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharni, Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi, Paschatya, Deshatarni. What does that mean? That Srila Prabhupada has been asked by his guru to preach to us who are in the Western world. Some of you come from India, but you're in the Western world, and many of you young folks are ABCDs. If you don't know what that is, that's American-born confused Deshis. That you don't know which world you're in, right? Your parents think you're in one world, your friends at school think you're in another world, and you're just like caught between the two worlds. Is that true? See? Confirmed. So anyway, so Prabhupada never, so he was asked to come to the Western world by his spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, and he was told to Nirvishesha Shunyavadi to deal with impersonalism and voidism and correct people's misunderstanding of what Hinduism is. Because usually if you go to the university and you study Hinduism, of course the word Hindu is not in the Vedic literatures. It's a geographical term that comes from Sindhu. And Prabhupada said the Sindhu River or Sindhu-Camino Ocean also. But anyway, it was given by the people on the other side of the Sindhu who couldn't pronounce S's. Yeah, I guess they had a lisp. No, I mean the language. I'm not criticizing the language. But they didn't have that S. So be there. Hindu. So anyway, so there's this misconception that Hinduism is basically either polytheistic, what many gods, or ultimately you merge into God, become God, we're all God, thank God, or God forbid. It's one of these different things that we haven't figured out yet. But anyway, it's not like that. Actually, what we're interested in is Sanatan Dharma. That's the original word. And the original word or label for India is Bhartavarsha. You understand? Not India, but Bhartavarsha. So anyway, so in this particular chapter, Krishna deals with this particular subject matter. And Arjuna's question is in relationship with this particular subject matter. So we're going to read Arjuna's question and with Srila Prabhupada's commentary and try to cover it all within the next half an hour. So, text 1, Arjuna vacha evam satatak yukta ye bhaktatvam bhaktipastate te ye chap yaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yogavitamaha. And so the word-by-word translation is, Arjuna vacha, Arjuna said, evam thus, satata always, yukta engaged, yea those, bhaktaha devotees, tvam unto you, paripastate properly worship, yea those, cha also, api again, aksharam beyond the senses, of yaktam unmanifested, tesham of them, kehu yoga vitamaha, the most perfect. And the translation is, Arjuna inquired, which is considered to be more perfect? Those who are properly engaged in devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Now that's quite interesting that Arjuna has used the word worship. Let's see what the Sanskrit says. Yes, paripasate. Because you can't really worship something that's impersonal, right? Worship involves devotion. Say if I worship you, which I'm not going to do. So, just like I worship Prabhupada. So there's devotion. Now, I like certain things that I don't worship, like my computer. I like my computer, but I never worship my computer. I never take some incense out and offer some lights, and blow a conch shell, or anything like that. I like it, but it's not worship. So it's interesting. So basically, we can understand that that impersonal Brahman. Okay, let's understand what impersonal Brahman is. It's an aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Vedas say, Vedanti tattva vidas tattva yadhyanamadhyam prameti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabjate. The absolute truth has three aspects. There's this impersonal Brahman, which is the energy of Krishna, and then, which is spiritual energy, and then there is the localized Paramatma, Krishna in everyone's heart, and finally there's the person behind it all. And it probably gives the example, just like you have the sun planet. Now, let's accept, as the Vedas say, that there's someone operating the sun planet. That's called Mr. Vivaswan, right? And he's operating it. And so you have three different aspects of the sun, right? You have the sunlight, which is all pervading. Just like here, you let the sun into the room. The curtains are open and you let the sun in. But is the sun really in the room? No. It's the sunlight. But, in one sense you can say, let the sun in. So that's Krishna's Brahman. And then you have the sun planet, which is a localized place, But you can also see the sun planet as it's reflected in what? Bodies of water. Like if you look at a lake, if you look at a river, or you have a mirror. Now don't look at the sun because it'll burn your eyes anyway. But in any case, the sun manifests itself locally, too, in reflections. In the same way, Krishna in the heart is reflected from the spiritual realm. Because Krishna never touches matter. It's not that if you have an open heart surgery that you will see a little guy with 4 hands holding a chakra and a club, lotus, like that. You won't see that. You won't even see the soul, not to speak of the super soul. So he's manifesting his presence in the heart according to the size of the body. That's why Krishna can manifest his presence in the heart of an ant or any insect as well as in a giant elephant, like that. So, and then, okay, and then there's this person in the sun who operates it. He's called Vivaswan, and in the same way, there's this person who's behind everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. And that's Bhagavan Krishna. So Arjuna here is asking the question, which is better? I mean, he doesn't really get into the Paramatma aspect in this particular, the localized aspect in the heart, in this particular chapter. That's dealt with in the 6th chapter. 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's called Sankhya Yoga, actually deals with Hatha Yoga. And at the end of the 6th chapter, Krishna says, what? Yoginam api sarvesham adgatenantaratmanam shadavam bhajate yomam sa mayuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, the best one is one who worships me. So Krishna deals with Paramatma in that particular chapter. So let's go on, because I don't want to, not much time. So actually, I did want to read Prabhupada's purport, although it's quite long. Let me read it quickly, because we have to pay proper respect to Prabhupada. Krishna has now explained about the personal, the impersonal, and the universal. That's the 10th chapter, the universal, 11th chapter, universal form, and has described all kinds of devotees and yogis. Generally, the transcendentalist can be divided into 2 classes. One is the impersonalist, and the other is the personalist. That means impersonalist goes after the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence, the sunshine. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna, but in meditation on the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. So he has different mantras he chants, like Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. Isn't it? Doesn't give him any happiness, because the impersonal Brahman just teaches you that you are spirit. You know, that's cool that you're a spirit, but you don't get happiness from that. If I say you're an eternal spirit and you're completely convinced about it, you're not the body, you're undergoing reincarnation, that doesn't give you happiness. That says, well, I'm not going to die, at least, as Krishna describes in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But I might be more miserable in my next life. But I'm going to get old. So that doesn't reassure me about anything except for, I'm spiritual. I'm not going to die. So anyway, we find in this chapter that of the different processes for realization of the absolute truth, Bhakti Yoga devotional service is the highest. If one at all desires to have the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he must take the devotional service. Bhaktimam Abhijanati, because devotional service has to be revealed. You can't acquire it through your own effort. It has to be revealed by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which comes about by pleasing Krishna's devotee. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personalists. In other words, they approach the person. Those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal Brahman are called the impersonalists. Arjuna is questioning which position is better. Because sometimes the impersonalists say, you worship the person, so later on you can become absorbed in the impersonal, right? They say it's a step, but it's not a step. It's a step down. So Arjuna wants to know, which is better? You've talked about both of these things. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth, but Krishna indicates in this chapter the Bhakti Yoga, or the devotional service to him, is the highest at all. It is the most direct and is the easiest means for associating with Godhead. In the 2nd chapter, the Lord explains that a living entity is not the material body, but a spiritual spark, a part of the absolute truth. In the 7th chapter, he speaks of the living entity as part and parcel of the supreme whole and recommends that he transfer his attention fully to the whole. In the 8th chapter, it is stated that whoever thinks of Krishna, we did that chapter 2 weeks ago, at the moment of death is at once transferred to the spiritual abode, Krishna's abode, spiritual sky. And at the end of the 6th chapter, the Lord says, and I quoted that, out of all yogis, he who thinks of Krishna within himself is considered to be the most perfect. So throughout the Gita, the personal devotion to Krishna is recommended as the highest form of spiritual realization. Yet there are still those who are still attracted to Krishna's impersonal Brahman, Brahmajyoti effulgence, which is the all-pervasive aspect of the absolute truth, which is unmanifest and beyond the reach of the senses. Arjuna would like to know which of these two types of transcendentalists is more perfect in knowledge. In other words, he is clarifying his own position because he is attached to the personal form of Krishna. He is not attached to the impersonal Brahman. He wants to know whether his position is secure. The impersonal manifestation, either in this material world or in the spiritual world, the Supreme Lord is a problem for meditation. Actually, one cannot perfectly conceive of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Therefore, Krishna wants, because how can you conceive of something that has no variety, that has no qualities, other than eternality? How can you conceive of pure eternality? Think about it. It's like if you ever took up science in school and you learned about infinity. Infinity is like an 8 that fell down. Right? You know, then collapsed on its side. So, what is infinity? Meditate on infinity. Can you do it? I can't. Or even meditate on 1 over infinity. Or infinity over 1. So therefore Arjuna wants to say, what is the use of such a waste of time? Intelligent. Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is best because he could thus understand all other forms at the same time, and there's no disturbance to his love for Krishna, because in the 11th chapter there was the universal form, which is showing how Krishna is everything, and Arjuna didn't like it because he couldn't love it. He was scared. So, the impersonal is scary, actually. The important question asked by Krishna, by Arjuna, will clarify the distinction between the impersonal and personal conceptions of the Absolute. So I am going to summarize the rest of the chapter. How about that? And answer the questions that Arjuna asked. Or Krishna is going to answer. I'm going to let Krishna answer the questions. And I divided the answer into 4 different categories. Whether it's the best path is one category. Whether it's an easier path, which one is an easier path, which one is the best path, and what can you do if you can't follow the best path? And if, I don't want to give away what the best path is, leave you all guessing. So, no, don't give it away. It's like the end of the movie. So, and what are the qualities of those who follow the best path? Got it? These are the 4 different answers given, 4 different categories of answers. So as far as the best path, in the second verse of this chapter, Krishna says that worshiping the personal form with faith is the best path. Okay. But not only that, it is considered the best path because on the best path, in the 6th and 7th verses of this chapter, Krishna says that if someone follows this path, meditating on him, Krishna becomes deliverer. He becomes the swift deliverer. That's pretty interesting. Otherwise, you got to deliver yourself. It's like you're drowning in the ocean, and someone wants to send you a life preserver, and you say, no, I'll take care of myself. So you better be a good swimmer, but you're not going to take care of yourself in the middle of the ocean like that. So it's not based upon your ability. Krishna says in the Gita, Ananyas chintayantu mam yajana payupasate, tesham nityapayuktamam, yoga kshema Vahamyam, for those who don't know Sanskrit, it means for those who worship him, serve him with love, ananyas chintayantamam, love completely. Then Krishna carries what you lack. I mean, what do we lack? Determination, right? We lack intelligence. We lack control of the mind. Oh my God, it's depressing. Isn't it depressing if you think about everything that we don't have? And so Krishna says, I'll carry what you like. Joy. And whatever you got, I don't know what I have. An old body. I'll preserve it. Not forever, but anyway. So I'll preserve what you have and I'll carry what you lack. So in this chapter, Krishna is the swift deliverer. He helps you. And also Krishna says, if you follow this easiest best path, then in the 8th verse of the chapter, Krishna says you will always live with him. Now, it's very nice to live with Krishna all the time because Krishna is Bhaktaram Jagatapasam Sarvalokramaheswaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatwamam Shanti Mrichiti. Krishna is your what? Best friend. I remember when I first started chanting Hare Krishna, I thought the coolest thing was that I could always have my best friend with me. Someone who I could reveal my mind to. I wouldn't have to look for someone, some fallible soldier, who I could reveal my mind to. There's my best friend, Hare Krishna. And it's described that when Lord Brahma achieved spiritual realization, Krishna shook his hand. How are you doing? I'm Krishna. What's your name? Brahma. Anyway, so that's why it's called the best path. Now, as far as the longer or shorter path, obviously you can guess on that. In the second verse of this chapter, Krishna describes that one who approaches the impersonal, all-pervading, he has to really pull back his senses and struggle with his senses, try to be equal to everyone. That's really hard. And work for the welfare of everyone, really hard. After a long time, he can come to devotional service, or even, let's say, approach the impersonal realization. And of course, if one even achieves the impersonal realization without achieving devotional service, he falls down because he needs to have relationships and activities. And if you're just absorbed in Brahman, there's no relationships, no activities, and the soul by nature is active. So it goes against your nature. It's like telling a kid to sit in the corner and just behave yourself. Come on. If I tell any of you, just behave yourself, what does it mean? Do nothing. It means do nothing. Actually, people think children are nice when they keep their mouths shut. Isn't it? Like if you're in if you're in an airplane, like sometimes when I travel somewhere, if some child doesn't open his mouth during the whole trip, I'm thinking, what a nice child that is. Isn't it? That's our conception. Nice. You got such a nice kid, Maybe brain dead, but he's nice. Isn't it? That's your conception of nice. Okay. So then also in the 3rd verse of the chapter, Krishna says it's very troublesome for those who are embodied, because if you're embodied, you naturally want to think of something that has a body, or someone who has a body. You can't love someone who doesn't have a body. Okay, so now we know it's the longer path, the impersonal path, and the best path is the personal path. So what happens if I can't follow this best path? What am I going to do? Is it all lost? If I can't just think of Krishna 24 hours a day, and love Krishna. Well, Krishna gives, he's very merciful in this chapter. In the 9th verse, he says, if you can't work out of love or be in love with me, Krishna says, follow Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you'll develop a desire to come to me. Bhakti Yoga means the process of sadhana, chanting. Of course, chanting is both the goal and the means, the sadhana and the sajja. But still, chanting under regulative principles or activities, like chanting 16 rounds or whatever you can do every day, and following the 4 regulative principles, do that. And then you'll ultimately develop a desire to come to me. And then Krishna is so merciful, understanding that people are just like hopeless in Kali Yuga. He says, if you can't do that, then just do some work for me. Come to the temple and help prepare for Janmashtami. Of course, you could do both. Don't say, well, I'm chanting following Bhakti Yoga, so I don't come to the temple and prepare for Janmashtami. They're not mutually exclusive. So don't think like that. And then Krishna says, well, if you can't work for me, you got some problems there. Then give up the results of your activities. Do some at least mundane good for people. Like Prabhupada in the purport talks about community development and things like that. So at least it'll help you get detached, and you could move up a little bit after that. And if you can't do that, you got problems. No, if you can't do that, give up the results, then you just cultivate some knowledge of spirituality. And if you can't do that, but he says better than knowledge is meditation. So do some meditation. And better than meditation, or better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of your work to Krishna. So Krishna is very, very, very kind in this way. So that's the third thing that Krishna talks about as far as the best process, and if you can't do the best process. And then the fourth category here is, what are the qualities of those who are dear to Krishna? How can you identify someone who's following the right path, the personal path? What happens? What qualities manifest automatically? Yasyasti bhakti bhagavacha kinchana savargasana samasta. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavacha kinchana. What is the rest of the verse? Harava bhaktasya kato mahagana manoritena asati davatapahi. For those who are actually loving Krishna, the surah, the good qualities of what we call demigods or devotees manifest in one. So what are these good qualities? One quality is they're not envious. Envy comes because we want something that someone has. Or if we exploit someone. Let's say if someone exploits someone, gets something out of someone, physical happiness or material goods, that means you're envious of them. You want something from them. Whereas the devotee is not envious, he's actually a friend to all. And he has no sense of individual proprietorship. Nyasopanishad states, Ishavashamidam sabramika kincha jagadjam Tena unjitha madgudha kashyasvidjanam. Maybe the battery is running out. Everything is owned and controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you're given a quota. You're given a quota of intelligence by God. You're given a quota of money. You're given a quota of anything. Okay? Quota microphone with a battery in it. So, anyways, you understand that everything belongs to Krishna, and you become equal in happiness and distress. That's really interesting. And then that's verse 13 to 14. Also in 13 to 14, you're satisfied in any condition, and you become very determined. These are the qualities of someone who is devoted to Krishna, which arise almost automatically because one is given those qualities by Krishna. And you don't put others into any difficulty. You're not disturbed by anxiety. Anyone here not disturbed by anxiety? Raise your hand. No. Why? Because you see, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then whatever happens is for your own spiritual benefit. Krishna loves you, and he will put you in certain circumstances to help you achieve the ultimate goal of loving him and transcending this material world. So that's how to look at things. It's a different perspective. You know, when everything falls apart, you think, Krishna, he's doing this for my benefit. And so I'm going to mention a few more of these qualities. One doesn't lament. One is equal to friends and enemies, honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress. These are very high qualities. One is silent. Whoops, let them get seated. Okay. Silent means only speaking things about Krishna or things related with Krishna's service. Satisfied, not attached to any residence, engaged in serving Krishna, and ultimately, in the last verse, one of the last verses, actually it's the last verse, which is 20. It's actually a very short chapter. Krishna says, the person who is very, very dear to him, Krishna uses the word very twice here, is one who follows the devotional service path, engages with faith, and understands that Krishna, or having a relationship with Krishna as a supreme goal, is very, very dear to him. So that's the essence of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Pretty simple, isn't it? And I encourage you all, when studying the Bhagavad Gita, to do what I did. I mean, I could share my notes, but it's actually good that if one goes through each chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, because each chapter deals with certain subject matters, and either outlines that particular chapter or understands how the information given in that chapter is in response to Arjuna's question at the beginning of the chapter, and puts it into different categories, then understanding the Bhagavad Gita is very easy. And Krishna says in the 18th chapter that one who understands this Bhagavad Gita or studies the Bhagavad Gita worships him with his intelligence. It's very important. So it's one thing to have someone else do the work for you like I did, but it's another thing to do it for yourself. Then you can truly understand. Now I can say, I mean, of course, I knew this 12th chapter before. Hopefully I've been studying the Bhagavad Gita for 50 years. But it really, I just did this paper. It took me, I think it took me a half an hour to do this paper. And it really helped me deepen my understanding of the 12th chapter, just by doing that. Just by analyzing from the perspective of Krishna's response to Arjuna's questions. So I request all of you who are interested in understanding the Bhagavad Gita to do that. You don't need to go to any fancy course or anything like that. You can actually understand the Bhagavad Gita very easily. So, any questions or comments? Questions? It's just time. Yes. Yes. Question is what? Is God a person? Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. If God is a person, what about his unmanifested aspect? His unmanifested aspect, we're talking about Brahman, unmanifested, avyakta, is not a person. Although the Brahman, this is an interesting factor, the Brahman effulgence is composed of individual jiva souls. But as a totality, it is not a person. But Paramatma is a person. The Shirodakshay Vishnu is a person, and Bhagavan is a person. And the topmost aspect is Bhagavan, from who the other aspects of the Absolute derive. Does that answer the question? Yeah. But Brahman is not a person. Yeah, Akash. Not, yeah, in one sense, yes, in one sense, no, because Akash can also refer to ether or something like that in the material world. So it can mean unmanifested. It's sometimes called the unmanifested, the energy of the Lord, the light, the white light, the effulgence of the Lord, but it has no, it's not variegated. That's the difference. Whereas the personality of Krishna, he has his different aspects. He is definitely variegated, and his pastimes and activities are variegated. So, just like I gave the example of the sun and the sunshine is pervading everything, but the sun itself is localized. The sun has its own identity. But the energy of the sun can enter into this room. So, any other questions? If not, we have our Sweta Mandar. He's going to enlighten us, right? Okay, all glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare. So, Hare Krishna. So let's thank His Holiness Bhakti Krishna Goswami Maharaj. It's so nice to hear the entire summary of Bhagavad Gita, chapters of Bhagavad Gita with the key points. And Maharaj, last week he explained 13 chapters so beautifully. Before that was 8 chapters, and now we have the 12 chapters. So it's such wonderful, relishable presentations on the Bhagavad Gita. So let's thank His Holiness Bhakti Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Hari Bol! And as we mentioned, every week we are having a youth series to encourage the youth. They are our future leaders. So actually a part of training and also to encourage the youth. So this time Shweta Mandiri will be doing a presentation. Okay.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to speak something about Srimad Bhagavatam. I'd like to offer this as an offering to Sri Radha Golokananda, to Srila Gurudev, to His Holiness Bir Krishna Maharaj, and to all of you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutle Shrimate Vaisheshika Das Adhikariti Namne Nama Praharsha Shilaya Prabhupada Anusarne Anindita Hide Tasmai Shastra Bhajna Chodne Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutle Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today I will be speaking a little bit on Srimad Bhagavatam and its importance in our lives. This is an especially deep topic for me because I strongly believe that navigating public school and then temple, it can be two different worlds. And for me, what's really brought a lot of faith is connecting with Shastra, connecting with Prabhupada, connecting with Krishna, because this is the substance. Tells us why we chant the holy name, why we want to go back to Godhead, why this isn't what we want. And of the literature that we're given in the Vedic canon, Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence. So let's see more about Srimad Bhagavatam and how cool it is. So Vyasadeva had the task of dividing one Veda into 4 different Vedas. And whatever was left over, he put into a 5th Veda, which consisted of the Itihasas and Puranas. But even after doing all this work, he was still feeling very despondent. So his guru, Sri Narada Muni, came and he said, "This is why you're not feeling good. You've written all these things, yet where is the Krishna in these things? You need to talk about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Write literature that will glorify Sri Krishna." And that's exactly what Srimad Bhagavatam is. Next slide. So let's see what Srimad Bhagavatam has to offer. Those who are familiar with this verse, please go ahead and recite with me. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayamulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapararishvara Sadyo Hridya Varudyate Trakritibi Shushushubi Sakshanat Dharma Projita Kaitavotra. This Srimad Bhagavatam rejects all materially motivated religion. Paramo, it is the highest truth. Nirmatsaranam satam. It is appreciated by those devotees that are non-envious at heart. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu. This absolute truth, Shivadam, is auspicious. Tapa trayo mulanam. It uproots the threefold miseries. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite. This Srimad Bhagavatam, written by the Mahamuni, Srila Vyasadeva, Kim Vapararishvara. When this Bhagavatam is here, what else do we need? Sadyo Hridya Varudyatre Takritibi Shushushibi Stakshanat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing submissively, Krishna becomes established in our heart immediately. Next slide, please. Now we will recite another sloka showing how Srimad Bhagavatam is our savior, especially now in this age. Please recite with me if you can. Krishne swadamo pagate dharma jnanadibhi saha kalau nashta dushamesha puranarko dunotitaha. This Bhagavata Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. So Krishna leaves this world after the Dwapar Yuga, and with him go so many wonderful things. And in the coming age of Kali Yuga, the sages are wondering, what can we do for the fallen people here? They need something to uplift them. So, persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. They gave us Srimad Bhagavatam. Next slide, please. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is not only philosophy, it has so many other things, a variety. It talks about the Dasavatars, and it also talks about the formation of the embryo in the womb, later in the 3rd canto. In the beginning of the 3rd canto, it talks about the concept of time, and it breaks it down in very small increments, very detailed. And in the 5th canto, it talks about the cosmology and how our universe is structured. So there's not only philosophy, but there's also various sciences presented in the Bhagavatam. The beauty of the Bhagavatam is that even whatever philosophy is given, it's given in the form of stories. Very digestible, very nice to read. And the great thing about these stories is that everyone can take away a different lesson from them. So this is my personal lessons that I've taken away from some of these well-known stories from Bhagavatam. So Vamana and Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj surrendered everything unto the Lord, and ultimately he was given the highest satisfaction. So that is what I got from Vamana Dev. Nrsinga Dev and Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj remembered the Lord no matter what obstacles, what demons came his way. Same way, if I remember the Lord, if we remember the Lord will be with us, catch us, save us, no matter what comes our way. With Gajendra Moksha, Gajendra thought he was enjoying until a crocodile bit his leg and he was about to die. So he called desperately to Krishna. Krishna left everything and came running. If we call desperately, realizing we can die at any moment, Krishna will come running for us. Sudama Vipra, no matter what we give, even if we have nothing to give, just if we give with our capacity, if we give love, Krishna is so happy. That's all he wants from us, our love. And Dhruva Maharaj, even if we're a little misguided in the beginning, but we desire to serve with determination, Krishna will correct us on the path, and he'll give us everything and more that we wish for. Next slide, please. Srimad Bhagavatam might seem like an ordinary book, but it's not. It is Krishna himself. As Padma Purana states, the Sanskrit is right there. I'll just explain the English. But the first and second canto are his feet, third and fourth thighs, fifth navel, sixth chest, seventh, eighth arms, ninth throat, 10th his beautiful lotus face, 11th forehead, and 12th crown. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'd like to talk more about my experience. I started looking more deeply into Srimad Bhagavatam during quarantine. To be honest, I was exposed to it earlier, but it seemed a little big, too unapproachable. But during quarantine, we had more time. We were in a global pandemic. I thought, why not look deeper into it? So I started reading, started memorizing more verses, and I found genuine comfort in the practicality of it. I think that when you look at the whole set, it may seem a little overwhelming, a little hard to approach, but once you start reading, you see how it applies directly into your life. And to prove that, I have a few slokas that have really touched me that I'd like to just describe the essence of and what they've given to me. So, next slide, please. The citations are next to the translations. I'll just give the essence of each translation. So the first sloka, Narada Muni is asking Vyasadeva, are you satisfied with identifying the body and mind as objects of self-realization? This hit me because it reminds me that whenever I'm thinking of my service or me as the body or mind and worried about what other people think of me, what I think of myself, I'm not thinking about self-realization. I'm too absorbed in self-consciousness. And so it's when I focus on seva, focus on my identity as a spirit soul, as hard as that might be sometimes, that's when I'm going closer to Krishna. Second one. As soon as I start to try to endeavor to be happy, that's when my distresses begin. If I don't endeavor for distress, it'll come. Similar, if I don't endeavor for happiness, it'll come. So I just need to endeavor for Krishna